Awesome. Let's talk about mistakes. Looking back, you said in 2016 you guys made a bunch of mistakes which almost killed the company. What would be some of the biggest ones you guys made, and how would you have avoided that looking back now?
I think there's especially one mistake that I always think back to because it was like so detrimental and it literally like it crippled us for 18 months and almost killed the company. And that was like kind of after we were done with our Kickstarter, we had sold 1,500 speakers in 30 days. And we thought, okay, then 1,500 in 30 days, then we can easily do, 10,000 in 6 months. So we and as me as the CEO in the end placed an order for 10,000 units, parts for 10,000 units, and that's like that's $3 million in Soundboks parts. And we did this at a time where we had no idea how to sell them. To be honest, we did it when we didn't have the organization at all to sell them. We did it when we didn't even have a production up and running. And to be honest, we did it when we didn't know shit. And I have this very clear memory of like 2 weeks after sort of us placing that order, and I'm picking up my girlfriend at the airport in LA. I haven't seen her for 4 months, and we're gonna meet and have a nice time. And like 20 minutes after I picked her up, we've just arrived into our Airbnb. Christopher, my co-founder, calls me and said, "Hey, the company that we thought was going to handle the production, they've just terminated our contract." And I was like, "Fuck." And to Christopher's kudos, and I am thankful to him to this day. He just said, "Don't worry about it. I'll handle it. Enjoy your vacation." And miraculously, the guy got a full production up and running again in a few months after. In like 2 months, he managed to like set up a full production, which is anyone in hardware knows that that's impossible. But apparently, when you're 21 and insane like Christopher, then you can do it. But still, that crippled us because we thought it was going to take 6 months to sell. It took 18 months.
Wow.
And the reason why it took 18 months was because we had like the products turned out to be way more expensive than we thought they were. We also had to fast ship everything because we were delayed and we wanted to deliver on time to our customers. We had to reroute a lot of containers from the old factory to the new factory, all that kind of stuff. And in the end, we kind of ended up in a situation which I often refer to as kind of the death triangle in hardware, which is where you can't sell products because you can't pay for marketing, because you have to pay for parts for products that you can't sell, because you can't pay for marketing, because you have to pay for parts for products that you can't sell. And that just puts you in a position where there's never any money in the bank. You can't really spend anything on marketing, and you have to be like super tactical about liquidity all the time. And you're just,
right.
To be honest, like it was not a fun time, and it was kind of like, it was getting into work every day every like month on the 20th and figuring out how the hell am I going to pay salary on the 30th, and overdue bills, all that kind of stuff.
Wow.
But yeah, and it took us 18 months, but then we sort of finally sold the last speaker. And looking back on it to this day, I actually think that we were fortunate enough to make that mistake at such an early level of our journey, because we're able to raise enough money to kind of get out of it.
Yep.
Because we've seen, and ever since then, we just really sort of switched our focus to growing healthily.
Right.
Because we saw a ton of these like hardware startups coming out of like Silicon Valley. They did a great Kickstarter. They raised 10 million in a Series A or something, and then they barely got to market because they bought too much inventory. You can find a ton of them. There's Lily. Lily is a good example. Then there's Doppler Labs. Startups like this that are incredible companies, but I think scaled a bit too fast. Because in hardware, it isn't just about growth. It's also about like forecasting, budgeting, inventory management,
right.
liquidity, all these kind of like, I don't want to say super boring stuff because I think it's very exciting. But more sort of like finance technical stuff that you need to nail, because if you don't, then you fuck up and you die. Yeah, so I think that was the biggest mistake that we've ever made.
Right. And